Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to another video. In today's one, we are going to be going ahead and talking about the new Last Alliance campaign that is currently in development. In the background, you'll be seeing some work in progress screenshots. I think I have about 6 or 7 in total, and we'll talk a bit more about that, when it's set, and all that lovely stuff, kind of what features and how many factions that we are looking to see in this mod. So if you've never heard of the Last Alliance mod for Total War Shogun 2, it is a modification, obviously, set in the second age of the Lord of the Rings fantasy universe. So unlike Third Age, which many of you would have heard of before, which is set in, surprisingly, the Third Age, this one is going to be set a little bit before then, in the year 3255 of the Second Age. So it's going to be very interesting that they're going to be taking a look at a completely different era of Lord of the Rings that not many people have explored. However, that is not going to be the case forever, because this is going to be set around the same time as the massive Amazon TV show that is currently being worked on. I think they're planning on like 20 episodes in the first season. It's like the most expensive TV show of all time, costing like $1.5 billion, and the rights alone cost like $320 million. It's pretty goddamn crazy, and hopefully that'll bring a lot of hype to this mod, because already the mod is making great progress on creating some pretty epic stuff. So far in the mod, you would have seen a few battles from me on the channel previously, and we've mainly focused on doing and creating kind of the engagements between the two factions that are currently in the mod. That is going to be the Dunedain, kind of the Númenóreans, and also the forces of Umber. So we had some pretty fun there, but they're planning on adding in these campaigns. So this is going to be one of, I think, 3 stages of the campaign, which will slowly add more and more. So on the first release of this mod, you're going to be getting access to this mini campaign, which I think is such a smart way to go about it, because it keeps people interested, it keeps people playing the mod whilst they're developing and adding in new stuff to the game itself. So yeah, on first release, you'll have access to this mini campaign, which is going to be focused just on Númenor itself, but don't worry, as the stages of mods gets added, as dwarfs and elves and all that stuff starts to come and the campaign evolves, you'll go ahead and get more of Middle-earth. I think on the stage 2 of the release, when more factions get added, they're planning on adding in a lot of the coastline of Middle-earth. And then eventually with the final release, they're going to be adding in the whole of it. And then I'm sure as the patches go along, they'll be adding in more and more kind of cultures, developing the architecture, and kind of just improving and filling out a lot more of the factions after they've been released in a certain stage. So in this campaign, kind of a little bit of lore behind it. It is set in, as I said, 3255 of the Second Age. It is in the year that Tar-Palante, I think I butchered that pronunciation, the last legal king of Númenor, died, and the new ruler that should be his daughter, Tar-Mirel, has been kind of usurped by Ar-Phazon. I butchered that one the most, but if you want to look this guys up, I'll leave some articles down below in the description if you want to kind of find out a little bit more about the lore. But basically, the true heir to Númenor has been usurped by her uncle, and in the books, there's no civil war. However, for this mini campaign, there is going to be a civil war to kind of try and take back control over Númenor. You're going to have 8 individual factions, many of them being the same, kind of using the same rosters, but just looking a little bit different. So they're going to have their own flags, maybe a bit more different pieces of armor here and there. But for the most part, the units are going to be quite similar in this first release, just because it is 1 or 2 cultures on Númenor at this time. So you're not going to be getting, orcs and stuff invading quite yet. However, you are going to be able to, try and fight for control and change history, because, as I said, in the books, there was no civil war, there was no, disruption in the way that things worked. But the mod is going to allow you to basically, change history and pick your side. Maybe you do want the true heir of Númenor to come forth and, take her rightful place on the throne. Or maybe you just want to leave things as it is and snuff out any resistance before it does get created. So as I said as well, that there are going to be 8 factions on Númenor in this mini campaign, and I'm assuming things maybe will change when the proper grand campaign gets released with the whole of Middle-earth and everything. I'm assuming maybe it's going to be set in a little bit later on in the period, maybe towards the, the rise of Sauron and the men and elves coming together and stuff like that. But for the most part, you know, you're going to be stuck with these 8 factions on Numenor for now. I'm not sure how many of them are going to be playable, but as the modders told me, that there's going to be, you know, multiple or 2 cultures on the island, so you're going to have, you know, a little bit of variation between the 2 unit rosters, but for the most part, they are going to be, you know, somewhat similar because they are just Numenorians, you know, but you're still going to have maybe a little bit more of, you know, a couple individual units here and there scattered throughout the rosters on Numenor. So on top of that, the mod does plan on having 28 provinces on the first initial release on Numenor alone. This might be scaled down obviously when the grand campaign comes out, just to go ahead and not add so much in Numenor that you're never going to want to leave it. Obviously this is kind of going to be the only focal point of the mini campaign, so I'm assuming they've made it a lot larger than it will actually be on the grand campaign. So yeah, you're going to have 28 cities to fight over and try and conquer. You're going to have 8 factions, as I previously said, with, you know, multiple, I think 2 different cultures, but, you know, they'll look different, so that's really, really awesome to see. You can see some of the awesome screenshots of the armies and the cities all over the map right now. They're obviously going to have custom technology. The diplomacy is going to be very interesting. I'm sure for the mini campaign, you're going to be kind of locked into your side of the Civil War, but with the grand campaign, it's probably going to be a lot more open, and you can kind of, you know, if you want to betray good and turn to evil, I'm sure there'll be abilities to do that. As well as that, they do also plan on adding in custom architecture for the mod itself, so that you're not going to be fighting over these massive, you know, Shogun 2 fortresses. They're going to look, you know, they're going to look the part. They're going to look Numenorian. They're going to look orcish like Mordor. I'm not sure if that's going to make it into the first release of the mini campaign. I think they want to add in custom architecture for the Numenorians if they can get around to doing it in time, but I'm not sure if that's like 100% the priority for them to do that. They kind of just want to make sure they get the campaign map and everything else really well done and balanced for you guys on the first release when it does come out with just the mini campaign of the Civil War. They obviously have, you know, custom buildings and artwork, and I really do, you know, dig the look of the settlement icons as well. They look amazing on the campaign map, and also the building cards as well look really, really interesting. I'm hoping as the mod does develop, they're going to add more and more stuff that will, you know, kind of really make each faction feel very unique. Something you may have noticed as well from the screenshots is that they've actually managed to import the Attila UI from obviously Attila into Shogun 2, so I think that does a great job of kind of making it feel a bit more up to date and a little bit not like Shogun 2, because what Shogun 2 came out in like 2013, 2012, it was a long time, maybe even before then. Shogun 2 came out, you know, a long time ago, so I think little adjustments like this, that, you know, bringing the Attila UI into Shogun 2 is going to be absolutely amazing and kind of just make it feel fresh and exciting, because graphically on the battlefield, it looks great. The units that they've shown there and have created look the part. They look like, you know, a very good game. The modeling is awesome, and when they start to get battlefields and other stuff like that, you know, the architecture in, I think it will do a great job of just immersing you into the campaign and just being very, very exciting. Especially when they start adding, you know, different cultures. I'm sure, you know, eventually they're going to be able to get trolls in and, you know, maybe flying, I don't know, flying units seems a bit crazy, but Shogun 2, if you don't know, is so much more moddable than Rome 2 onwards, like Attila and Warhammer and Three Kingdoms. Shogun 2 was kind of like the last bastion, and, you know, creating a custom map like this hasn't been possible in the later games, where it's kind of been possible, but it's just not worth the thousands of hours you'd have to pour into it. Whereas in Shogun 2, you still have to put in a lot of time and commitment, but it's a lot more friendly, and you can kind of not want to blow your brains out, I'm sure, after doing it. You know, they still put in hundreds of hours into making what you're seeing right now, and it's just so impressive. So I want to definitely go ahead and give the modders, the entire team who's working on this, doing all bits and bobs, I want to give you guys a massive shout out, because it is looking so good so far, and the speed at which you guys are working at. Oh my god, this one song is pretty intense. Let me skip ahead of the Rise of Mordor. It's even more intense. Let me just, there we go. Nice, pleasant music. So yeah, I want to give the entire team working on this mod a massive shout out. They've put in a ton of work, and the mod is already coming along extremely fast. I'll say that, but, you know, the speed at which they're adding in custom maps and stuff is just amazing. So if they can keep that speed up, you know, this campaign won't be that far away, and I can't wait to go ahead and dive in and play it. Even maybe do a head-to-head against Apollo. I think that would be a ton of fun. And I think that's where I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video today. If you want to go ahead and check out the mod, I'll leave a link to their Discord down below in the description. Obviously, this mod is not out yet, but if you want to go and show them some support, it is honestly probably one of the best things you can do as a fan looking forward to something, is go over to their Discord and just say, hey, I'm really looking forward to this. The pictures look amazing. I can't wait. You know, it helps keep the modders motivated. It helps them know that there's actually people wanting to play and see this mod. So yeah, you know, if you want to go ahead and support this mod, the best way to go ahead and do that. The main modder also has a Patreon that I'll link down below in the description, and they're also recruiting. So if you want to maybe help out on this mod and you have a few skills, again, go over to their Discord. You can check that out, and maybe you can lend some help and be a part of this amazing mod that is getting developed. And honestly, I just can't wait. I think this is going to be great, you know. I really am excited with this. Rise of Mordor coming along very nicely. And then obviously when the Amazon TV show drops next year, it's going to be super hype, and I honestly can't wait. So yeah, let's go ahead and show our support to the modders. And yeah, I guess if you guys want to go ahead and find out more about this mod, whenever there's new factions unlocked like the elves and the dwarfs, whenever the campaign is in a playable state, I will be able to bring it to you guys first. So make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Go ahead and hit that bell notification. Drop a like down below if you are hyped for this mod, and I will see you guys in the next one.